You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Now's a good time to remember where tequila's story truly began. In 1795, Cuervo invented tequila.
Cuervo.
What are you doing here?
Cuervo. Anytime someone says Cuervo, I show up.
Well, I do know that to be true, but even during ad reads, like...
Cuervo.
I think you could lay out, especially for one of our great partners.
Sweet, delicious Cuervo.
Since then, Cuervo has stayed true to its roots. The same family, the same land, the same passion.
Cuervo.
So, enjoy the tequila that started it all. Cuervo.
Cuervo.
The tequila that invented tequila. Proximo. Cuervo.com. Please drink responsibly.
Cuervo.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Many years ago, I was talking with Kevin Durant about being tall as a child, and he said that as a fifth grader, he used to pray that every evening that he could be shorter because kids, want to fit in, and he was being gawked at because he was tall and it felt awkward for him. About a year ago, we talked about a Florida player, a player who had decided to go to Florida, Olivier Roux, who was 7'9", but wasn't one of the top 50 prospects in America, even though he was 7'9". He ended up going to Florida. Florida obviously is good enough to win the tournament this year, a very deep team. He's not playing for that team, but he was cutting the net the other day, and there's video of him cutting the net without having to get on the ladder, where he just reaches up there and cuts the net. There's also video of him on the team plane, a team plane filled with ostensibly other very large people, and he just looks very much bigger than everyone else. And sports is a great confidence builder for a number of people, success in sports. But when I see someone of this height and think of all the things that are problematic, including just trying to take a shower in a hotel room, in just any hotel room in America, that person cannot take a shower. And or sleep in a bed, I imagine a normal bed is not something that a 7'9" person could sleep in. So when you add the combination of he's 7'9" and he's obviously a basketball player, and anyone who talks to him or sees him is going to see him as a basketball player, but he's not a good basketball player because he can't move around very well at that height. I remember the stories about Andre the Giant and the pain that he was in. And when I see someone of that height, it generally fills me with a sadness about the unknown because I imagine that person to be in a great deal of pain.
Yeah, because that's not just tall, that's freakishly tall, right? Like if you're 6'6" or 6'7", you're really tall, you stand out, but it's sort of normal tall. When I see somebody 7'9", I feel bad for them. And I thank the stars that I'm 5'9", to be honest with you. I mean,
The stars you're thanking for that.
yeah. You know what I did the other day? Christopher, I think I've told you that I do this occasionally. There's a step stool in my garage. It's 2 steps, so it's like this tall. Occasionally, I stand on the step stool just to imagine how it would be to be 7 feet tall. And it is so weird because your whole perspective changes. You're a different person. If you have a step stool, stand on it. Put yourself in a 7-footer's shoes for just a minute. It really changes your outlook.
I've never bet. When you say 6'7" is a normal tall, I have legitimately never met a 7-foot human being who's not a basketball player. I've never seen what one of those looks like who doesn't play basketball in the wild anywhere.
Just some guys like I paint.
No,
I do.
anywhere. I remember Amici said to me one time, because he was the first player in his country to make it to basketball, and the way that he started was so primitive in that the first basket that he played on, there was a wall right behind the basket, so there was no place to land on the other side of the basket when he was playing. He said to me, there are plenty of 7-foot people, because I'm like talking to him about, well, you had certain gifts being 7 foot, and he's like, there are plenty of 7-foot people who work at Subway, and I'm like, no, there aren't.
You guys are just begging someone to talk about the Terry Rozier Osama should have hooped tweet, right?
Oh, that's great.
You guys remember that one?
Go ahead.
It was just, he should have hooped. He's tall as hell. No one remembers that?
No.
So it's an all-time NBA Twitter moment. Is Terry Rozier saying Osama bin Laden should have hooped instead?
We mentioned that I joked that someone being tall could also be a painter, and we started talking back here. Yeah. What are other jobs outside of basketball that being really tall would be beneficial? Because painting, now I don't need the ladder for this, for the top of the ceiling here. Or maybe what else being tall would be helpful?
Fixing lights.
Yeah,
Fixing
electrician
lights.
Maybe, because then you can fix lights while still standing up and not needing a step stool.
A stock person at a store, at a grocery
great.
store. I can stock that top aisle now. Don't need the little step stool. See, there's other jobs they can do. It's not just basketball.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, though, because when you're growing up extra tall, you're made fun of. Not always, obviously, but it's a common bullying technique if you're freakishly tall.
I feel like as someone who grew up, red hair, freckles, I dealt with some, that's the child's play of the being. Like, if you're being mocked for being tall, like, that's the best case scenario of all the things you could be picked on for. I feel like being tall.
I feel like Chris.
Yeah, they deserve it.
I think.
I feel like this is Chris's expertise.
Yes, I know bullying.
As a ginger kid.
Okay,
Yes.
but I've talked to Ron McGill about how he was bullied for being taller than everybody else growing up. Your mother grew very quickly. She was like 5'8" at age 13. It was terrible for her.
And my mom's a ginger. Man, that must have been tough growing up for my mom.
You should talk to her about that sometime. Seriously.
Okay, so Billy is informing me that as part of our March Sadness tournament that involves the fans of this show, that we have someone who's very tall, that he can't figure out whether that person is standing on a chair or not. So do we have rankings and seatings for these people who are in our tournament?
We do, and they have been informed via email today that they have made the tournament and they've gotten the next prompt. So should the fans vote for them to make it to the next round? They have a deadline that has been set. They need to send their follow-up video, and then if they have moved on, we will have their video so that they can move forward. Now, our competition committee met, and this is a 16 seed in one of the regions, and I'm going to, full disclosure here, tell you that when we were talking, there was a number of criteria that were met. There was the quad wins, the quad losses, all of that, right? But this one kind of got through, if I'm being completely honest with you, because we could not figure out if this man is just exceptionally tall or if he was standing on a chair the entire time.
My name is Jordan, and I think I should win the Biggest Fan Award because I've been listening for over 12 years, so I get the show. I've actually visited Miami twice, and I stayed at the Clevelander and at the Elser, so I'm definitely very invested in the Batard show. And number 3, and most importantly, I'm a Minnesota sports fan, so I never win anything. My teams don't win any tournaments whatsoever. Dan is always talking about how the Vikings are frauds and the Wolves are going to get rid of Anthony Edwards, so it'd be nice to win something for once.
I mean, you get the gist of it, but he said he's the biggest fan, and his head is nearly hitting the ceiling. So we said, you know what? This is up for the fans to decide if this is actually the biggest fan or not, but he seems to be a giant, that man.
Also, the Lynx have won 4 championships in the last, 2 decades.
Well, he's a sexist, obviously.
He could be in a tiny house.
That's true.
He doesn't.
Very tall sexist.
He doesn't deserve to be in our tournament. Based.
Well, he was
on
a 16 seed. Let's be real. He's going to be bounced in the first round because the number 1 seed against him is a monster. So
wait, did Greg see the video of the guy, the cameo that Greg was in? Because that should be a 1 seed. So if that guy is against really tall guy, the 1 seeds obviously is going to be a blowout.
We will get that in a moment, and we will play that again for the audience that wasn't listening on Sunday night, because Greg Cote enjoys nothing more than people who reference Greg Cote. So we will get to that in a second as soon as the video team gets to it. But Greg was wearing me out during the break because he was saying, hey, Dan, the West Virginia Attorney General is now involved. They're formally investigating everything that's happening with this North Carolina being allowed into the
This
tournament.
is so much work and ways for them to get bounced in one game.
Yeah. Also, James Comey was 6'8", and people used to say he should have hooped too.
Wow.
Yeah. Lee and I will walk up and down, like with our dog, like up and down the trail, and be like, "Wow, that person was like." When we see a tall person, we always say should have hooped, and it's like a reference to that. And now, if you guys were there, you wouldn't even understand it, but now you will.
Do you think that tall people that are bad at basketball feel worse?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Right? Because there's just this
yes.
assumption, like, you know what? Like, because I'm sure they get it all the time. Oh, you should have played basketball. Like, yeah, but I can't because I'm unathletic and my body is a waste. Respectfully.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been plenty of people who were tall and gave it a shot just because everyone was saying you should play basketball.
Like Ron.
So they tried and they were awful, just terrible.
Greg Cote, your thoughts on the West Virginia Attorney General now summoning an investigation? Because I keep hearing it wasn't just Elle, it was also you, and you wore me out during the break saying that it should just be understood that if the school that you're competing against has that kind of history in basketball, all of the things being equal, including merit, you should be okay with North Carolina making the tournament. And it's the opinion of someone who doesn't actually care about the team being wronged. Because if it was your team, nobody would be making the argument of, yeah, it's fine. It's not about this season. It's just about, and I'm with you on the idea that much of this is just for television, and you have to understand that it's not about merit. It's about entertainment. But if it were my team, I'd be mad that it were about entertainment instead of merit. That's not supposed to be how it works in sports. So I'm sure everyone listening to this is, West Virginia is being ridiculous with its governor and its attorney general, except for people who care about the West Virginia program, and except for any of you who care about any program. And if it happened to you, you'd be this kind of mad as well.
Yeah, but that outrage presumes that West Virginia has a strong argument. Which is extremely
not a strong argument, just a stronger one than North Carolina.
It's extremely debatable on that, okay? And television ratings do matter. Program heritage does matter. And North Carolina is incomparably higher than West Virginia. The analogy I used when we were talking off air is that if you're the college football playoff committee picking that 12th team and the choices are Alabama and Tulane, that's a no-duh decision, all other things being equal.
Again, though, if Jessica's Notre Dame is wronged in that situation, or if Mike's Miami or Billy's FIU or Jeremy's UCF.
Well, Mike's Miami was wronged in the women's bracket last year. They're the first team out, and they had some really, really bad losses last year. And it's a field of 68 teams. So it's like, it's a lot different than college football, where it's 4 teams and now it's 12 teams and there's automatic bids and everything like that. But you're really arguing about a really, really small select number of teams. This is a lot of teams. There's obviously 31 automatic bids, but then there's a bunch of at-large bids, over 30 of them. And it's like, okay, like you got to make some choices.
Yeah.
Again, though, you guys don't care enough about nobody here cares about West Virginia basketball.
Well, I think it's because they're mediocre, right? Like, we're not talking about, again, like when we were talking about 4 teams for FSU or UCF, you're talking about undefeated teams that feel they've earned their way to be in a playoff. This is a field of 68. So we're talking about, there are automatic qualifiers. So you're talking about what, the 44th and 45th best teams in the country, potentially? There's an understanding of, really, you're going to have gripes over the minutia when we're splitting hairs 45 teams into this field? I understand March Madness's whole thing is anybody can win it because of these one-game samples. But, I mean, what are we really talking about here if you're the governor of West Virginia?
Also, more people don't care about West Virginia basketball than do, just statistically, in the world. So we represent the majority.
And they lost their last game. Had they won, they would have been
to a 3-17 team. But I would just say that in the era of gripes, you saying that the minority that feels wronged gets laughed at by the majority, it's why the minority ends up feeling even more alone with their wronged, because no one cares about this enough. except for a politician who's out here trying to
grandstand.
Yes, yes.
He does not care about that team either. If we're going to be perfectly
agreed.
honest.
Just cares about his constituency, and it's wise to care about that particular constituency. This is the easiest possible issue for a politician to get behind and summon his attorney general to help him with, because the people. What are you shaking your head no about? It's just this
patently ridiculous. L. Duncan agreed with me. It's beneath the office of the governor, and the attorney general was appointed by the governor, so that's his puppet, just moving like a marionette to whatever the governor says. It's a waste of taxpayer money. Like Jeremy said, you're talking about the 68th spot in the tournament. It's not even worth any outrage whatsoever. Just grow up, take defeat. You lost to a 3-17 team. Zip your lip. Move on.
a second zip your lip.
Yeah, I don't say that nearly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and another thing is that somebody mentioned the 35th ranked education system in the United States. How about turn your attention to that and don't worry about the Mountaineers?
Right. There you go, Greg.
Okay, very good. Greg's got a lot of opinions. I want to get to most of them. I also want to get to updating our tournament, which we will do in a second. But I wanted to put before you guys some information that I did not have, I did not know before yesterday. Sean Baker, the director of Honora that won so many Oscars, and also the director of The Brutalist, whose name escapes me right now. Both of these people have said, this stunned me, that the Hollywood film market and independent movie making has taken such a hit in the streaming age. The business of it has taken such a hit where DVD sales and money you can make after making a movie is no longer available. Both of them have said they're broke, that they didn't make any money on those movies. That the director of The Brutalist told Mark Maron, I made $0 making that movie, and Sean Baker is saying something very similar. I could not believe that the industry, that independent movie making is in such peril that Honora, which costs $6 million to make, is unable to pay Sean Baker what he believes is, never mind a decent wage for an obsessive project that requires a number of hours, but that you're talking about people who are struggling to get any kind of paycheck for exemplary work. I knew the movie making industry was in some peril. I knew it was hard to make independent films. I did not know that both people who had made the best film of the year would be saying, hey, $0 or close to broke.
But like, when you do independent films, that's always kind of been how it works, right? Like, you never really make a ton of money off of independent movies, and if you're the director and you direct an independent film with such acclaim, that's how you kind of get your name out there, and then you move on to less artful projects where you make the money. Like, now he'll be doing a Spider-Man movie or something in the future, and he'll make $800 zillion. And you know what? You sell out, but you make all your money. You made your art, you win your award, and then you go on and make all the money.
Also, speaking of Hollywood, Vince Vaughn should have hooped. He's like 6'5".
Yeah.
Wow. He's taller than that.
Big guy.
He's taller than that.
Well, the internet says 6'5". Christopher Lee also 6'5".
I was dwarfed
Saruman.
standing next to him. I felt small. I don't feel small around a whole lot of people. I was surprised by how tall he is.
Jeff Goldblum's 6'4".
Nicholas Braun is 6'7".
I think you can do this on both ends. You can shock us right now. You can shock the listening audience on both the high end and the low end by telling them some actors who are impossibly small and some who are larger than you think they are.
Tom Cruise plays roles that are 6'6".
He's 5'6".
When you Google tallest actors, half of them are NBA players that have been in movies like Shaq and LeBron James. But then you also get a Ted Cassidy, who I believe Greg knows, right, Greg?
Yeah.
No.
No?
Oh.
Was it a different Cassidy we were talking about?
Who dat?
Okay.
Feel free to find both on the high end and the low end. The low end can be
He's
funnier.
like an old-timey actor.
Uncle Phil was 6'5".
Isn't, what's his name? Dustin Hoffman really short?
Yes.
5'6", something like that?
Tiny.
5'5".
5'5". How
Jason
about
Alexander, 5'5". Seth Green, 5'4". Patton Oswalt 5'3".
All of those, I'd like some that are surprisingly small because you think of them as taller.
Al Pacino 5'6".
Mm-hmm. There are pictures of Al Pacino and Robert De Niro walking around in like clogs and stuff and high heels on a set meant to make them look larger. And
I'm wearing those same shoes right now. Like literally this.
Wow. They'll often get actors who are similarly small to make them appear larger. There are any number. I think that Emilio Estevez is stunningly small. I think that you can find a number of actors that you will surprise the audience because they look on the screen like they're bigger. How tall is Tom Cruise? He's about 5'6", is he not?
The internet says 5'7", but I don't quite believe that. I've stood next to Tom Cruise one time at Blizzard Beach in Orlando, and I towered over him.
Wait, Tom Cruise was at Blizzard Beach?
Yeah, this was right after the divorce, or as the divorce was being finalized. So he brought his daughter, who was like a little kid at the time, to Blizzard Beach and was walking through. I was there with the camp that I'm volunteering for. I was talking to one of the counselors, and he looked right past me as if he had seen a ghost. So I turned to my right, and I was like, "Who's a short guy? It doesn't matter." I turned back, and then I looked, and it's Tom Cruise. And then all of a sudden, because he realized that we noticed him, he starts speeding up, and he's dragging his daughter along. And then I realized there's a security detail behind him, and they all ran up, and we tried to throw a Camp Fiesta bracelet at him and tell him, "Hey, there's this camp, and it's really cool." And then we lied to everybody at the camp and told them that we actually talked to Tom Cruise, but we only told one person. And then by the time we got back to the base where everybody was hanging out at camp, all 80 people at the camp thought that we had met Tom Cruise. We kept that lie going for like 5 years. It was really awesome.
You lied to kids with cancer?
Yeah,
I lied
it's
to
a
the
weird
counselors
flex.
who used to have cancer.
Danny Trejo 5'6".
Big difference.
Vern Troyer 2'8".
They lied to the kids with cancer.
Jeremy.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Are you surprised that Danny Trejo is only 5'8"?
5'6".
5'6".
Also, Brady Corbett, you would have made more money if The Brutalist was actually good, which it wasn't.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Mattel, Heinz, or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the business behind the business, making and selling, and for shoppers, buying. Simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. No one does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Heinz uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Batard, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Batard to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Batard.
All right, I know I got to do this ad read, but hold on. Let me reapply. Did you hear that? Yep, that's my new favorite lip gloss from NYX Cosmetics. Now I'm ready to talk to you. I've been a huge fan of NYX Cosmetics for many years now. In fact, I use their Thick It, Stick It brow gel every single day. So you can imagine my excitement when we recently received a special delivery to the Le Batard studios from our friends over at NYX Cosmetics. And there it was. When I opened the box, glowing, I heard the angels sing, "Ah." It's their latest lip gloss fat oil lip drip. It's NYX Cosmetics' first lip oil of its kind. This creamy lip oil will have your lips dripping with fat perks. You get all the shine of a lip gloss and none of the stickiness while experiencing 12-hour hydration. I'm usually a matte lip gloss kind of gal. My normal go-to is NYX Cosmetics lip gloss, the Lingerie XXL. But after applying the status update shade, I have found my new go-to lip gloss. Fat Oil Lip Drip has high shine finish with comfortable wear and none of the sticky texture. A lip product that's hydrating, non-sticky, and only $9? Now that's a win. Try Fat Oil Lip Drip from NYX Professional Makeup. Available in 14 universally flattering shades. Find your perfect Fat Oil Lip Drip. Shop now at nyxcosmetics.com or a retailer near you.
Dan Batard.
He called me on my own podcast. He called me full of shit, claiming that I'm faking interest in the solar eclipse.
Well, you do this. You love to just get excited about everything.
Okay, Junior.
Stugotz.
I had to school you and explain to you.
He was going to take you to Augusta.
When I was 17 years old, Alan Sherry and I used to haunt the Bueller Planetarium.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Let's play for Greg Cote what promises to be, or I'm assuming already is, a number 1 seed in this tournament. And just please put in picture the look on Greg Cote's face so you can see how radiant he will get at any mention of his name or any reference that is anywhere near him.
Why do I deserve the crown for this year's March Sadness? Well, if I've learned anything watching the show, it's always side with Greg Cote. So I spent a lot of money on Cameo for this endorsement. I hope you like it. Who needs me? It's the manager of the Lobos. Just want to support this guy because he gave me money through Cameo. And I do want to say, in all seriousness, back in my day, we used to take our
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN.
Billy, how many more tournament teams do you want to unveil to the audience? Have you have already got the 68 videos? You've organized them?
Yeah, we've organized, we've ranked, and we've informed the 64 teams that made the tournament. So they'll know, and fan voting will start. I believe we're trying to go along Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
64,
schedule.
not 68.
Well, yeah, because then we'd have to add an extra round. Dan, you don't want to know the logistics of this whole thing. Trust me.
I really don't.
64
And it's one of the rare instances when I do trust you.
Oh, well. Anywho, so here's another one of our submissions. I'm not going to tell you the number or the rankings, but this is another submission to the tournament. When, again, was asked, why should you watch a game with Dan?
Dan is talking to Vince Wilfork today. So many things that he wants to say. Then he asked about his wife, Bianca. I just got a brand new wife tonight. Don't ask me about my old wife tonight. Try to stop Dan's face from reddening. The silence from Wilfork is deadening. Dan just made an ass out of himself.
I love him.
I still hear the echoing laughter of Vince Wilfork and his new wife in the New Orleans airport outside of the bathroom when they saw me.
So if you'd like, we have another one here. Again, the question was, why should you watch the game with Dan, or why are you the show's biggest fan? And here is another submission.
You and me, Dano, talking about your great turn on phrases or eating your fantastic popcorn. We can talk about how the band Korn popped back in 1999. How the media game has changed since then. Media, me, dia, my day. Back in my day, getting your jersey retired meant something. Retired? Reed tired? Is Eric Reed tired of Greg Cote trying to make fun of him? Hymns. Like why they sing in churches or cathedrals. The cathedral of sports. What journalists are trying to save, running around like freaks on a leash. The song that popped Korn.
Well written.
Wow!
Nice.
A poet!
I need to text Charlie Kravitz right now.
Greg, how do you feel? Because you are you've got a number of different opinions here today that we have not yet gotten to, and I'd like to spin the wheel of Greg Cote issues, if you guys don't mind. I'd like to spin the wheel right now, and I will tell you what it is that's on the wheel. We've got Tommy John is on the wheel, the NIT tournament. Aaron Rodgers is on the wheel. Let's see what it lands on. What did it land on, Greg?
Oh, I get to pick? I would think someone
No, you have to read it off the wheel.
The wheel.
Look at the wheel.
The wheel picks.
And pick the thing it landed
You
on.
got to pick the
Oh,
wheel.
right. Okay. I think NIT. It landed on NIT.
Think so? Or
It was wavering, and then
Okay.
the paddle, and then it went over at the last second.
Okay.
The NIT tournament and the other pretender tournaments. There's even a new one. I think there's 3 now. But the NIT and those people, they need to disappear. Okay. 68 teams is enough. Everything else is a leftover. If you win the NIT tournament, don't cut a net. Don't act all happy about winning that trophy. It doesn't matter. You're leftovers. 68 teams is enough. All the other tournaments should be disbanded. I really believe that. And if I were a self-respecting head coach who missed out on the NCAA tournament, I wouldn't accept a bid. I would tell my players we weren't good enough. We didn't make the only tournament that matters.
They make money off of going.
I know they do. And money drives everything, unfortunately. And now we're so mad for content, we're so desperate for content that there's always going to be a market for the secondary tournament and the third tournament and the fourth tournament. It's like giving out a ribbon for finishing last in a race. You don't deserve it. You didn't make the NCAA tournament. You've had a less than successful season. Let it be.
How many years in a row have you done this? Just this take?
I mean, it's a take I believed in for a long time. I didn't pick it. I mean, the wheel picked it.
You are against the NIT in a way that's that's strongest among all media members, and I can't wait until the governor of West Virginia and the attorney general are invited to West Virginia winning the NIT tournament and celebrating it with their local politicians.
Did you guys see that there was a controversy with South Alabama over the weekend? Okay, so what happened is UC Riverside had committed to being in the CBI tournament, which is a third tournament. So therefore, they were left out of the NIT tournament because of their commitment to the CBI tournament. So because UC Riverside had already committed to that tournament, the NIT needed another school, so they invited South Alabama to participate in the NIT tournament. Now what happened was UC Riverside was then able to get out of their commitment to the CBI tournament. So the NIT tournament rescinded their invitation to South Alabama after inviting them and informing the players that they would be part of the NIT tournament.
I'm telling you what, it's a nightmare. It's a landscape on fire. The NIT used to have that lane to itself, right? The NIT was the also-ran tournament. There was no competition. And now there's the one you mentioned. There's a new tournament. There's at least 3 and perhaps 4 big level tournaments now competing, and so the NIT is getting its back up. The NIT is saying, hey, we were the also-ran tournament for a long time, didn't have any competition. Now we have other made-up tournaments competing for our also-ran teams. It's ridiculous.
And the CBI is different than the CBC, right? Yeah. Which is the College Basketball Crown. That's another tournament happening in Vegas.
That's
too many
tournaments.
and the CDC is the Center for Disease Control.
Also, the NIT used to be the premier tournament, right? Like back in the 50s before the NCAA took over. The NIT,
League.
and then it was very prestigious to play in the NIT.
Yeah, the NIT. Call it the knot.
NOT.
Spin the wheel again.
When my pap was the manager of Duquesne, they won the NIT, I believe.
What did it land on there, Greg?
Oh, wow. I am thrilled by this. Getting to talk about Tommy John. Okay. Tommy John is known for 2 things, surgery and underwear. Okay, Tommy
and 288 wins.
Tommy John, wait a step on my punchline. Tommy John surgery.
How could I have known what your punchline is?
It's like Garrett Cole, Tommy John surgery. A couple of things. Number one, Tommy John did an interview. He's 81 years old, still alive, God bless him. He did an interview with AARP magazine a couple of years ago. He's against Tommy John surgery, which they named after him because Frank Jobe, the surgeon, wanted to give it a name that people would remember. Tommy John rightly thinks that there's too many Tommy John surgeries now. They're too routine, and the majority, like 60% of Tommy John surgeries, are to high school age pitchers. He's against that, and I think he's got a point. The other thing is
he's against their arms getting hurt. He's against his name being associated with it.
He's against too many surgeries. He's against the surgery named after him being used.
So play through the pain.
No, he's saying probably if you're a high school kid and you might need UCL surgery, it might not be worth it for you to go through that surgery, is what I imagine he's saying, because of the thousands upon thousands of high school kids getting reconstructive surgery with Tommy John. I would imagine 5 of them maybe make it to even professional ball, let alone the big leagues.
You're 100% right. He's certainly not saying play through the pain, which is ridiculous. Tommy John underwear comes out, and poor Tommy John, he's thinking of suing Tommy John underwear, which is unaffiliated with him, only to find out that he couldn't afford the lawyer in that case. But as Le Batard mentioned, stepping on my punchline, Tommy John, and take it from a Baseball Hall of Fame voter, Tommy John deserves to make the Hall of Fame. The only other pitcher since 1900 with that many pitching wins not to be in the Hall of Fame is Roger Clemens because of steroids. So Tommy John is Hall of Fame worthy on just about every level. His career ERA is like 3.3, which is really, really good. So instead of just knowing him for surgery and underwear, put this man in the Hall of Fame while he's still alive.
Did you guys notice, I don't know if this story is something that has gotten traction or if it's something that's happening outside of South Florida, but my wife was very confused recently because it is taking her months to try and get a DMV appointment. That one of the things that's happening with all of the chaos in some American systems failing and the government being actively broken, the DMV is not functioning correctly, but now people have done some reporting to find out what's happening there. The appointments, the free appointments, are being booked by people who are affiliated with like the driver's school or the traffic school, and then the appointments are being scalped. If you want to get a free appointment at the DMV, you have to pay someone who is hogging the appointments because there are scalpers who are taking the DMV appointments and then putting them on the secondary market
on game time?
So that you have to pay for them.
Genuinely, it's insane. And if you have to go to the DMV in Miami, good luck. Lehman drove to Vero Beach twice last year to get his car registered. That's like a 150-mile drive both ways.
That's where Wild Bill's from.
We could not get an appointment at the DMV here. It's crazy.
I just did not have a circumstance in any scenario non-apocalyptic where DMV would be something that I have to pay for because people are scalping DMV reservations. Is that only because we're a corrupt banana republic, or is this happening throughout the country with DMV?
Well, you can also just wait like 3 weeks. Like you just make the appointment and you wait.
There were like no appointments.
I drove to the Keys when I needed to renew my passport. Made a day out of it.
But
Went
like
to
if
Jimmy
you want to go to
Johnson's
the
Big
one at
Chill.
like Magic City, you can't get an appointment. Like the last time I tried, which was like 2 or 3
you
years
guys
ago.
need to know a person.
Exactly.
You know
Billy.
a person, then they tell you which one you go to, and you go to like someone. It's you drive like 25 minutes in there. It's next to like a post office.
Okay, but
you go
some
in and
people
out.
can't do that because they have work, and they can't be like out standing in a line at 4 a.m. to get into the DMV just to get their license renewed.
You know, it's too bad Dan's wife doesn't know anybody really important who could like make a phone call and sort of circumvent some of these.
Or can't afford $25 to get the reservation, or is making some sort of principled stand about
there you go.
But it's taken months, Billy. It ain't a week's thing. It's not waiting for weeks. She can't get an appointment for many months.
The Miami-Dade tax collector is named Dariel Fernandez, and Fernandez said in a statement that in the 3 weeks since their office opened up in downtown Miami, a suspected 200 appointments came through with suspected scalpers. I mean, in 3 weeks, 200 of the appointments they think have been booked by these people who are reselling them for profit. Can we just start everything over? Can we just press I mean, this is the end of all of society, right?
This is going. The tickets are going, or the reservations are going for anywhere from $25 to $250.
Yeah, let's just end it.
$50.
Yeah, it should be against the law, scalping government access like that. It really should be, but the secondary market changed the music concert industry. When I was growing up, you'd literally wait in line overnight to get a Rolling Stones ticket as soon as they went on sale. Now, you can barely get one, and you end up having to pay a lot more on the secondary market, right?
Let me spin the wheel real quick here, one last time here, see if we can get Greg Cote's. What does it say there, Greg?
Okay, I had to wait because it was just wavering. Aaron Rodgers, still unsigned. He's holding the NFL hostage. He's going to wind up with the Giants or the Steelers. Some people still want to float that Minnesota Vikings rumor.
Namely him.
Well, he does, but they're committed to J.J. McCarthy, assuming he's completely healthy from what kept him out all last year as a rookie. But it does make you wonder, though, that if the Steelers, if Aaron Rodgers is good enough for the Steelers and the Giants, why wasn't he good enough for the Jets? Is Justin Fields better? I think that's something in retrospect that you can ask. But Aaron Rodgers, he's on fumes, but he's still a big name. And if he goes to the Giants, I think that's where he needs to be. Do for the Giants what he never could do for the Jets. His ego needs the big city. So it's at his age, 41, 42, he's still a major player in this league.
Who's he holding hostage?
He's holding the teams hostage that Pittsburgh and the Giants. Make a decision already. Make a decision. They need to move on before the draft's right around the corner. Make a decision so that the team you don't pick can move on.
Why wouldn't he just try and wait out the preferred option of Minnesota? Why would he, so he can stop inconveniencing you and you can, because you're accusing him, you care so much about the Giants and the Steelers being held hostage that you think he should choose one of those lesser preferred scenarios to the one he prefers to satiate you?
No. When I say he's holding hostage, he's holding the two teams that really, really want him. They need to move on. They need to get another quarterback if he's going to say no. And most of the quarterback options are gone now.
But why does he owe them anything? He's trying to get the best spot for him. And
the best spots are available for him now, and they were 2 weeks ago. There's only, I said on this air a couple of weeks ago, the options for him are dwindling, and now it's down to 2 or 3 if you believe the fibs about the Vikings. So make a decision already.
So you have them being fibs? You have them being fibs, Vikings fibs.
It is being reported by people I trust that the Vikings are committed to J.J. McCarthy. And we all know that Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere as a backup, right? And so make your decision already.
I have been trying to encourage the audience to be better about its phone calls on this Boost Mobile Boldest Take hotline. The telephone number is 305-486-GOTZ, G-O-T-Z, 305-486-4689. These have admittedly been slightly better, though that's not saying much.
I think they've been a lot better. The Boost Mobile Boldest Take from the weekend is presented by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country. And here is this week's submission.
Key on a mobile from the Bay Area. Calling to let you know I think blueberries are awful. By far the worst berry.
Marshall Faulk is the best running back I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, this is Dan from Phoenix on a mobile. Sandlot, great movie, terrible ending. We have 93 minutes of pure cinema building up the kid legend, Benny the Jet Rodriguez, only to find out that it amounts to him being a pinch runner. A pinch runner. Very anticlimactic.
I've got a tour song. And I'm here to remind you of the check down pass that you threw to me. He's got gray hair. He's left-handed with the eye black cross that you wear for me. To it.
Hey, this is Tony in Orlando. My hot take is we should not be able to get speeding tickets from cameras. Police officers should have to catch us breaking the law in order to give me a ticket. I'll hang up and listen.
I want more Jim Larinaga.
This is B Green, first time, last time. And this is my limited fake, Patrick Warburton, as Joe from Family Guy. Hey, Peter!
The greatest mysteries known to man. The origin of life
quantum physics, how Tommy Tuberville beat Alabama 5 times in a row.
Yep, Jay on the mobile from Toronto. Fake limited. Dan Batard. But Stugotz, he's actually a good Stugotz. What do you mean? Greg Cote.
Say what?
Hey friends, it's Jer Bear here, and I'm here to tell you all about Boost Mobile, which is now a legit nationwide 5G network. So I must take a break from the jokes here for a second and put on my serious voice, because I would never ever joke about a 5G network that has invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Not even once. Not even if Mr. Boost Mobile himself asked me to. There is nothing funny about it. Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network and also provides coverage across 99% of America. Seriously. Visit boostmobile.com or your nearest Boost Mobile store location to learn more. The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds, not available in all areas.